This little Lego Lamborghini is based on a real-world car that is so outrageous, it was almost banned from US roads. But to me, it's more than horsepower and scissor doors. It's the car that launched my lifelong love of cars, all based on a poster I picked out in second grade. Today, I'm building the LEGO Speed Champions version of the Lamborghini Countach. It's a sleek 262-piece build, and I'll be sharing some facts, history, and personal memories along the way. Let's get into it.
Welcome to my first ever LEGO mini speed build. Right now I'm showing that I have actually done this build before. That's why the sill is broken. I built this build about a year ago. I didn't put any stickers on it. It was just my LEGO thing, so I collected it and built it. But I disassembled it completely. I don't remember much of the build, and we're going to go ahead and do the build here for you all. All my builds from here moving forward are unopened except for one other one, which is a much bigger one, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. This build has 2 bags in it. I use Ziploc bags to re-put it all back together because obviously the bags from the original LEGO set are destroyed and gone. So I'm going to show that here to you all. But before we get to that on the video, one thing I would like to point out is this is not the intention of this video originally with a voiceover. I had this whole Bob Ross idea with LEGO builds. However, as I am a new content creator, I guess that's what I am, I made a lot of mistakes. So kind of scrapped the original audio and we'll do speed up from here. But in future builds, my hope is to have it be more live, where I can talk about all the pretty little trees, except for it's LEGO, so more maybe like all the pretty tires and bricks. But that's the intention of this. So with that being said though, I do want to share some good old Lamborghini knowledge as well as some personal stories. Let's dive into the Lamborghini. This is a Lamborghini Countach, and it was actually originally prototyped in 1971. Production started in 1974, and they made these until 1990. The Countach was designed by, I'm going to slaughter this, Marcello Gandini of Bertona. It's a wedge-shaped body, pop-up headlights, and now iconic scissor doors. I remember that was maybe one of the few things that caught me, were those scissor doors when I first encountered this car out in the wild. And I say out in the wild, like, you know, movies and stuff. The name of Countach is a Piedmontese expression. I'm sure I said that wrong. But it's an expression of awe or surprise. Basically, Countach means wow. So, a little bit of fun knowledge there to drop on some friends if you ever come across one of these. But overall, very cool car. I remember actually seeing the first Lamborghini Countach. I was 19. I was going to college, and I was driving a little, my own little poor man's sports car. That's what it was. But I pulled into a gas station to get some gas on my way to class, and there was a white Lamborghini Countach, much like this build, sitting on the other side of the pump getting filled up. And so I kind of stopped, and they had the scissor doors open, and I kind of peeked over and took a glance, and then I thought, you know, this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So I went over there and I talked to the fellow, and he was a guy maybe in his 30s, and just kind of asked about the car. Obviously I knew what it was and all that stuff, but he was willing to let me like sit in the driver's seat while it was getting gas and kind of check out the interior and look over the car. He told me it was bought secondhand. It was kind of almost like a garage or a barn find, and it was not well taken care of. The inside needed to be completely redone. Like the paneling and stuff was falling off, so it was a little bit of a disappointment when I first kind of looked at it, but also understanding of the situation of how he found it. So I don't know what his plans were, if he was going to try to restore it or if he just wanted to own a Lamborghini like most of us do. But yeah, that was my first time coming across the Lamborghini Countach in the wild. I've seen a couple others out in the world since then, but never like actually sat in one or been able to get that close. So good times there. As we continue through this build, I'm going to go ahead and let you know, here's a couple of the stats that the Countach had in the real world. It did evolve over the years. some of the specs were from different versions. So it always had a V12 or a 12 cylinder, and it started at a 3.9 liter, but eventually went to a 5.2 liter by the end of the run. The horsepower ranged from 375 horsepower to 455, depending on the model. And looking at that nowadays, 455 honestly isn't that much. A lot of our sports cars, our Mustangs even, muscle cars, are able to reach upwards of that. So despite the mass amount of cylinders with a V12, 455 horsepower overall, not that much. However, the car is very, very light. So due to that, the 0-60s was as quick as 4.5, and in the 70s and 80s up until the 90s, that's a quick car. I know compared to electric cars today, not so much, but that is a very quick car. Besides that, the other things to know is it did have a top speed of 186 miles an hour, and there were only 1,999 units, in 1999, that I'm aware of at least, that were ever produced. So the Lamborghini Countach was actually extremely rare. So seeing one even beat up is actually kind of one of those unicorns to find out there, because despite its lore and pop culture and stuff, it's actually not a very common sports car, despite the price and everything. Just not a lot of them out there. So, as I progress through this build, you can see that I'm kind of working on the bottom here and the back end. This is actually a really fun build. I really like the way this car looks when it's done, and we'll talk about that later, but there was some very clever mechanics that they did throughout this build to give this Lego speed set the iconic curves and flow that a Lamborghini had. And I was just, as we went through this, I was just kind of amazed at the cleverness of this. They could have used some pretty stock parts, I figured, but instead they came up with some interesting concepts to be able to make the parts move. The parts within the car in the real world don't move, unless they're falling off, I guess. But to make them move so you can move them into place and give it the curves. So we'll point that out a little bit later, but very fun build for that. I mentioned that this car was almost banned. In the 1980s, the Countach design made it difficult to meet the U.S. safety and emission standards. Lamborghini didn't officially import it, so many were gray market imports brought in privately by very rich people, I'm assuming. The U.S. government pushed back on these due to lack of airbags, emission compliance, and bumper regulations. It didn't have a bumper, actually on the front or the back, and this car you can see is kind of lacking a bumper as well. Some owners had to remove the cars, pay huge fines, or retrofit bumpers just to keep them street legal. Basically, it was just too fast, too low to the ground, and too cool for federal regulators. So just a fun little story there. Lamborghini Countach was a very wide car too. I remember it does fit into a single lane, but it's like you're pushing the boundaries of each side of the lane pretty well with it. But yeah, really cool. I believe what really brought this into pop culture was it was actually in a movie called Cannonball Run in 1981. And if you haven't seen that movie, well, I don't blame you. One, it's an old movie, and from what I saw, I don't think it's a particularly good movie. It might be a cult classic. But that's my opinion. If you love this movie and you've seen it, my apologies. It's not offense. It's just it's what it is. But it does have Burt Reynolds in it, I believe, or maybe he was in number 2. The idea of the movie is these people, if you don't know what the Cannonball Run is, it's based on a real race that happened illegally, and from what I've heard, still does on occasion. But it's a real race, racing from coast to coast in the United States, from LA to New York. And they decided to make a comedy movie on this with a bunch of hijinks and stuff like that. But one of the cars in Cannonball Run was a Lamborghini, driven by, I believe, I don't know the actresses' names, but it was a team of 2. And they had some, I'm going off memory here, but they had some gadgets in there to help like turn the lights green for them and stuff like that. But yeah, that was like the first like movie appearance. Since then, it was also in The Wolf of Wall Street, so people basically trashes after he is intoxicated. We'll leave it at that. And, you know, it's a funny sequence in the movie. He thinks he drives home super safe and he's calling out other people, but in reality, he's the one that's obviously driving home under the influence and totally trashes his car. But that's what that is a Lamborghini Countach. So, other notable appearances is Miami Vice. Never watched that as a kid. Jay Leno's Garage and the Grand Tour, which I really, really love. And of course, you can find these in a lot of video games like Forza and Gran Turismo. So, I mentioned in the beginning, this is one of the cars, or at least the poster of this car, is what kind of inspired my lifelong love of cars. The story to this, and I'm trying to keep this all nice and mellow for the podcast segment of this movie, not a movie, segment of this video, is I remember in second grade, our teacher or our school used to give out what we would call gold slips, which were literally a slip of paper that was gold colored. And if you did something to earn a gold slip, you usually had to be some sort of exceptional behavior that was, you know, above and beyond of some sort. You got to go to the office and pick out a prize. Ironically, also, our school gave out blue slips, which was for the opposite, and you got to go to the office and not really pick out a surprise, I guess more of a get a stern talking to. But either way, it resulted in a trip to the principal's office. But I got a gold slip one day, and I don't remember why. I honestly think even as a second grader, when I got it, I didn't even know what I did at the time. But something I had done impressed the teacher, and I got a gold slip. And this was the first gold slip I'd ever got. So I go up to the principal's office, and I've heard about these mystical prizes, and they bring them out, and they've got, you know, some like notebooks, some of these like eraser topper thingies you can put on top of your pencil. I don't remember everything, but a bunch of stuff. And then over on this side, they had a few posters. And I noticed one of the posters, of course, they showed them kind of like just a smaller print of what the posters were, was of this cool car with these funky doors that kind of went up straight up, sitting on like this grassy hill in kind of a sunset type setting, and it was silver. And I remember thinking, that's a really cool car. So I grabbed that as my prize. I took that poster. I don't even think I owned a poster up until this time, but I took that poster. And I remember going back to class and showing a couple of my friends, and one of the classmates, I don't particularly remember who, it was somebody I wasn't friends with, came up and kind of asked to see it. So I unrolled the poster for him and, you know, showed him the car, and he kind of looks at it and he's like, yeah, that's a pretty cool car, but that's no Lamborghini. And then he kind of storms off. I mean, not like angrily or anything, he just kind of goes and does his thing, right? And then I had a couple of my other friends around me, so we kind of roll it up, and we go home, and I'm starting to roll it up on my wall, and I have one of my friends there, and we unroll it all the way, and at the bottom it shows what it is. Now it's written in cursive, so here we are, second graders, and we're trying to sound out this Italian wording that's written in cursive. And I remember my friend being there, and he's actually the one that was able to translate this. That's what I'll call it, translate it. And I remember him sounding out Lamborghini. And after he finishes it, me and him both look at each other with like these wide eyes and kind of like do a double check, you know, a double take, and we read it again and like, this is a Lamborghini. So, you know, ultimately, then we just kind of like, well, that kid didn't know what he's talking about. This was a Lamborghini. Kind of left it at that. We obviously never said anything. But we hung the poster up and went on about our day. But I remember my dad coming home, and this is where this really started. And of course, you know, I'm all excited. So come see what I got. Come see what I got. And he comes up there, and I show him this cool poster. And I think that was the first time my dad ever realized that I like cars. My dad was a car guy as well. He was a car guy that couldn't drive. He had some disabilities, so he wasn't able to drive, but he always liked cars. So of course, him seeing that we now have this common bond, after he asked me a few questions like why did I pick that and stuff, and you know, me saying it's a cool car, he then took every advantage possible on our limited budget to build that enthusiasm in me and to share that with me. So I remember from there on out, I would start to get like, I got a few other posters because posters were cheap. I got a calendar, and I remember this calendar specifically because, you know, it had a car for every month. But not only did it have a picture of a car, it had the stats of that car. It had the 0 to 60, it had the horsepower, it had the top speed. Now, as a second grader, horsepower didn't mean anything to me, but knowing how fast it could go from 0 to 60 and compare it to others, having these comparable measures, as well as top speed meant something to me. And I remember looking through them, and I didn't memorize a bunch of them. I don't remember many of them now, but one car that stood out to me, unfortunately not the Lamborghini, even though that's what we're building today, was the rough twin turbo Porsche. Basically, it's a 911 that's then taken by, you know, Ruff, R-U-F-F is how it's spelled, which is a tuner shop, and tuned up. And I didn't know that either. I figured it was just like a make of the Porsche. But I remember it had something like a 202 mile per hour top speed, which in the calendar was the fastest car. So that kind of inspired my love for Porsche there inadvertently. But overall, back to the Lamborghini story, he bought me posters, the calendar, he would start to get me Matchbox cars. But more importantly is anytime he came across somebody that might have a car he thought I was cool, or he learned of a car show or something like that, he would go out of his way to try to find a way for us to either look at the car, get a ride, or go to the car show. And once again, this usually involved taking a bus or arranging people to give us a ride because he couldn't drive. And so it wasn't an easy endeavor for him to help build this enthusiasm, but he did. And it's one of the great memories I have of my dad. I say have because he has passed away almost 10 years, I believe now. But that's one of my fond memories of many, obviously, of course, my dad, but also built my enthusiasm for the Lamborghini as well as sports cars. And I think I've been a car guy ever since, to be honest. So, yeah. So here you can see I'm putting on the stickers, and this was a little clever thing. They had me put the stickers on the bottom of this car here, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in a second, but one is I am not good with stickers. There's a reason why usually when I build these for myself, I don't normally put stickers on these cars. I'm no surgeon. I used to play a few sports here and there, nothing crazy, but when it comes to fine motor skills, I guess, is that what we're going to call it? You know, drawing a straight line, or painting, or applying stickers to a little mini car. Not my greatest strength, so I struggle with it a little bit. You can see here in a few minutes I'll have to take one off and try to reapply it. But overall, stickers are not my friend in these builds, but I'll do my best to put them on. I sometimes wonder if I need to get some tweezers like that, but I'm not sure if they would help me out much. But we'll discuss that, I guess, at another time. However, I have noticed with putting the stickers on these builds, because I didn't put the stickers on before, they do actually add quite a bit. They this car was pretty cool the first time I built it, but looking at it after I put the stickers on it was something else, I'll be honest. It kind of just adds that extra little pop. So anybody building these, if you're neglecting stickers like I am, it's maybe worth the time trying to apply it, or maybe get somebody that's got better hands than me to apply them, or better hands than you, because they do add that little bit of flair. You can see I've got this bumper sticker on here, basically says Lamborghini. You've got the grill marks, things like that, and it's really quite good. But one thing I really liked with this, and I had kind of this like epiphany I didn't have, and I missed this without the stickers, is I click on the front end there, and you've got the lights, and I try to show this off to the camera as much as possible, but when you got that front end in place with those clear Lego bricks, the stickers below actually, it looks like the lights are on. You can actually see into it better that way. And of course, when I didn't apply the stickers, I didn't notice that, so because it was just white Lego brick underneath. So you can see here in a second, I hold it up, and when I have that moment, it kind of like, oh my gosh. But it's just something kind of that it does add more than just on top. Like, they have some clever builds even with the stickers, because it did take me a second. I'm sitting there thinking, why did they put the stickers underneath? I can't even, that's kind of silly. I can't even see them. But overall, once I kind of put it together and I took a look at it, and I realized that it's like, oh, okay, that's just another clever thing by these clearly brilliant people over at Lego to build these, because making these parts and building these cars, it's something else. So there you can see me adding the little guy there with a wrench. He's as if he's working on it. You gotta have some fun with these builds. The reason I did that is I actually had to pull out a part I dropped previously on the floor, and I didn't want to spend the next 15 minutes looking for it while the camera was running. So I checked the back, and there was a spare part in there, and I was able to pull it out. And then, of course, we got to pull out the hair for the guy. A little jealous, he gets hair and I don't, but that's what that is. And then we can sit here and finish the build up on the wing, and then we'll put the tires together and put the windscreen on. So. All held up to the camera, and this honestly is like I said, put together. I've only put together 2 of these mini builds now. The first one you guys probably won't see because I did put the stickers on that one too, but this is a actual beautiful little showcase of a Lego speed set. Like, this car came together beautifully. You can see me pushing it on a little bit and having some fun, but overall it's a great car, it's a great build. If I were going to give it a rating, I would say it's 5 on cool, or not 5, I'd say it's 8 on cool factor, probably about a 7 on time. It wasn't that hard or didn't take that long. And affordability, this is one of the cheaper sets now if you can still find it, so probably an 8. Overall, highly recommend this set here. Cool car, just everything about it. I really like this car, and yeah, I do have a bit of a bias towards it, but I mean, look at it. Look at it. Look at the back end there. Isn't that awesome, the way they use those lights and stuff to kind of give it those, once again, those curves? That's just, it's a gorgeous little car. It's a gorgeous car in real life too, to be honest. So a great thing. Now, one thing I wanted to do, have a little bit of fun with these as I build these, is put these on a track here and see what kind of speed we can get. So as we go, I'm going to try to time these all. This one came out to a 1.55. So 1.55 seconds, and we'll throw that on my leaderboard, which makes it the fastest car out there. Until next time, thank you, everybody.